Hello guys, welcome back to the episode 15 Snowfall recap. You can watch it on WeTV or Viki. Let's get right into it. So in this episode, at the Shen ancestral home, the gang cooks Milan wontons and he says to Shen Jiheng, I always thought you were lonely, now you have someone beside you. And that really took me out because the guy's old, right? And obviously Shen Jiheng is older than him, but because he looks young and fresh, the gang's like, you finally got a girl. And it's like, I don't know, it just took me out. Second of all, the gang finds a portrait in the storage room and the portrait looked really bad. I can't show you an image because it's express and like basically they don't really take screenshots of it, but just know that it was a really terrible portrait. Like it didn't look good. And then once Shen Jiheng gets the portrait, he kind of like looks back in time, like he thinks back to what happened when his family was kind of massacred. And they all took a photo together and everything, and he remembers like telling Situ Welian like to come take the photo with him because Situ Welian showed him the blood amber stone. And Situ Welian's actual name is Qian, Qian. And the blood amber stone makes him realize that he has to go look for it. Like it kind of reminds him what he's there for, to look for the blood amber stone. So after this happens, Shen Jiheng then heads to the cemetery where his family are buried on the Shen ancestral home manor, right? And he brings Milan. I will say Milan's outfits got so much cuter as the show went on. I kind of love that. Like her brown outfit is really cute. And I wonder if like Shen Jiheng bought some of her outfits as well. That's kind of cute. I like the idea of that. Milan also pays respect to his ancestors as well as he's doing it. And then Shen Jiheng takes her to his gravestone that his grandmother built for him because she didn't want people to blame him for what happened. Because after the massacre, basically, like the when Chu his Sisi Welian's mother like is the cause of the massacre, and then like he was pretty much half dead or dead during the massacre. The grandmother was crying that his dad killed himself because he was like, I'm to blame for bringing you here and bringing this shame to my family. So he dies. And so he takes him to his gravestone because the granny basically built that so no one would blame Shen Jiheng. And it made me realize like this is the greatest example of familial favoritism I've ever seen in a drama, because the grandmother nearly burnt Situ Welian and his mother to death, even though he's also a son of the family, but put a lot of favoritism onto Shen Jiheng because he's the eldest grandson, and she just thought, yeah, you're my favorite. Like, even though she knew he turned to a vampire too, and you would think usually people like that, once people do have a dramatic change due to some form of magic, they do tend to turn on those people. She didn't care, and he still remained a favorite, and I just kind of thought, that's some really strong familial favoritism right there. So his grandmother erected the cenotaph for him, and then he did a bit of grave digging and he finds the blood amber stone, which is buried in his coffin. And when it activates, we then get a look back at his father killing himself and feeling like he brought shame to his family by bringing this Wei Chu there, Situ Welian's mother there, and caused all this destruction. So he dies. His father's name was Hong Xing. So I have a few questions. Shen Jiheng is like dead or half dead during this event, right? Even in episode 14, he looked half dead or dead when he gets turned to a vampire using the blood amber stone. So my question is, can the stone revive the dead? Or was Shen Jiheng half dead? He killed, and that kind of thing. And also, Milan in this episode gets shot by Li Ying because while they're at the gravestone and Shen Jiheng is activated by the blood amber stone, Li Ying comes and shoots, and then Shen Jiheng just not in time enough, it gets deactivated and he gets awake again as he's looking at those memories. And then Milan gets shot at by Li Ying and she's pretty much dead, right? But he bites her. We see the shadow of it happening, and then he uses the blood amber stone to basically activate the vampirism. Then he lays her down, puts the blood amber stone on her chest, and then just as he was turned, he turns her. So I'm curious because like, again, there's not much like lore in this show for us to understand how the blood amber stone works with the vampirism and why like somebody can be dead and turn into a vampire after they've died. Because in other dramas I've watched, the person has to be like just about close to death, or not even close to death, and then you can turn them into a vampire, but they can't be dead. If they're already dead by the time you get to them, they can't turn into a vampire. And they're not zombies either, they're vampires. So like, we don't really get, like, up until this point, maybe later on, enough lore about how that works. Another question I have is, because he's used it on Milan to turn into a vampire, he's going to get weaker, like Wei Chu got weaker too. And my question is, if they then find the other blood amber stones, because there are three major families, Mu, Wei, and Mo, how does he escape death? Because I can't imagine what uniting the blood amber stones would exactly do for his immortality, or how that would help him. So I have a lot of questions. I don't know whether they're going to address it, how they're going to address it, but I'm so curious about how he's going to, like, not die after he's just used a stone on somebody else, because you can only use a stone on one person. And it makes even more sense because we only know one Mo family member that's alive and one Mu family member that's alive that we know of, that we've seen, right? Miss Mu and Mr. Mo. And the Wei family, as far as we're aware, Situerian is pretty much the only one left. So, I mean, we don't know much about that. Also, Milan gains consciousness, and now that she's basically a vampire, she can see, and we get a scene of her in the bubble bath, and she gets out of the bath, looks in the mirror, realizes how pretty she is. She actually is naked in the mirror, actually. And then I think back to the episode where she asks Liang if she's pretty, and she smiles and, you know, has a dimple, and she realizes how pretty she is. She's like, this is what I look like? And then she sees Shen Zhiheng as she's walking around. She's like, Mr. Shen? And she touches his face, and they have this really beautiful scene around his flowers. He's taking care of the flowers, and then he sees her, they hug, and the flowers kind of look like a love heart around them. Again, I can't show it to you because Express have like a block, like, unless it's like VIP, you can't see it, but they look really beautiful, like around the flowers and kind of hugging each other and stuff like that. And then Liang is really scared because he thinks he killed Milan, and then at the end of the episode he realizes that she's not actually dead, and now he's terrified that, you know, Shen Zhiheng's going to come after him pretty much. He's a scaredy cat at his core. We also get a scene of Jing Shu and Tituelian, and she tells Tituelian, although some people are inhumane, they'll never harm you, when he asks her why she's so connected to Li Ying. Which also is funny because he's a vampire and he'll never harm her, but he'll definitely harm other people because he needs to consume blood. Which is interesting that she tells him that. Liang also gets on his knees outside the Economic Development Committee, and Li Guisheng is right beside him. Li Guisheng is actually the one who tells him that Milan's alive, and he's shocked. That's everything in this episode, pretty much. So, and also they're back in Hadong. So basically after Milan got shot and he's turned her into a vampire and he's waiting for her to wake up, they get back to Hadong from the Shen ancestral mansion. And he tells the gang goodbye, and the gang tells him, yeah, you can't run away anymore. Like, Shen Zhiheng in this episode has now realized that he can't run from his problems any longer, and that they're catching up to him, and that he needs to take action. And we're finally going to actually see him do the stuff that we've wanted him to do this whole time. Because I am convinced that censorship is the reason why he's not a bit more ruthless. I don't think in this context, you know, because I think they would have been pro-Japanese. If he was more ruthless, it would take away from his gentlemanliness. It absolutely wouldn't. They're absolutely villains. And I argue also that if we had more lore, Li Ying's scenes would be less. Or maybe even we'd get more scenes with Situ Wei-Lian. Explaining how he became Situ Wei-Lian would be more fun than having all those scenes with Li Ying and Jing Shu and also Situ Wei-Lian. Like, it doesn't work, and it's not intense, and I wish we got more instead of more of Li Ying. But again, you know, censorship strikes again and takes away a really juicy, like, well-built story from us, because I'm pretty sure everything happens differently in this show in the uncensored version, which maybe we'll get if we get a director's cut. Who knows? I don't know. But we'll see. And then the 18 and 19 teasers hint that maybe Jing Shu will get turned into a vampire because she bites Li Ying in the teaser for episode 19. And episode 18 teaser, Li Ying says he will make Jing Shu fall in love with Situ if he helps him make a trap for Shen Zhiheng. So clearly Li Ying is still trying to go after Shen Zhiheng. So 14 and 15 were definitely like where we're getting more of like to the main point of this story kind of thing. But I wish we did this earlier. Like I feel like discovering who Situ was in episode 13, for example, why leave it so late? You know, I feel like the way they've structured it, personally speaking, I have an issue with. We've gotten way too much of Li Ying and not as much lore and like character backgrounds. I'm even curious about how Li Ying and Li Guosheng met and how they became sworn brothers and why they're so close. Like, I know they grew up together, but how did you become so close? Like, we get so many flashbacks towards the end of the show, but not really at the beginning, and I think that's very interesting. I wouldn't have structured it like that personally, but you know, it doesn't take away from my enjoyment of the show. I love theorizing and stuff like that. Let me know in the comments below what theories you have about how the show is going to kind of move on from here, how, you know, Shen Zhiheng is going to survive now that he's going to get weaker because he doesn't have the stone's energy kind of supporting him anymore. What you think about Situ Welian and whether he's like a half-breed, and if he's a half-breed, is that why he's telling Shen Zhiheng that he's not complete, or is it to do with the fact that he consumes human blood, whereas Shen Zhiheng tends to not consume human blood? Let me know in the comments below. If you like my channel, please subscribe. If you like this video, please hit the like button below. Thank you so much for listening. Bye.